The Stars come out at Skydome. The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports. The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports. The Stars come out at Skydome. They operate on rocket fuel. They bounce off would-be tacklers. They direct miracle finishes. And they make catching the ball an art. However, of late, the bright lights have been dimmed.
Basically, we have to play sound offense. And when I say sound offense, we have to stop shooting ourselves in the foot with turnovers and give ourselves a chance, because our defense is keeping us in the game. We're going to have to make it so that we can finally win without defeating ourselves.
We want to jump back into the win column and not let it go any further than it has. We need to come back with a win. We have an opportunity to get back to first place.
Doug Flutie makes the field his personal playground. When he scrambles and it works, it is vintage CFL. Rocket Ismail has blinding speed and sometimes runs in a class by himself. But when things go bad, they go bad. And they have at times for Flutie and for the Rocket, who's had difficulty with possession. In fact, the best thing Calgary and Toronto have had going for them is defense. Players like Alondra Johnson and Mike Campbell have been the Stars. Today, the offenses must measure up.
Time was the Argonauts just could not lose in this building, but gone are the days of victory being a sure thing for the home side, and it has all to do with the Argonauts' failure to grasp one of the fundamentals of the game, that is, hang on to the football. Too bad they've banned the one substance that might help the Argonauts with their many turnover problems. It's called Stickum. You'll never find it at the Argo bench except for our purposes, and folks, I'm wearing a glove because, believe me, this stuff is permanent. But hey, hands like this might have helped reduce that league-leading turnover total of 45. Don Whitman and Joe Gillette will describe the proceedings today. Don, how I love to start these telecasts with cheap parlor tricks, but there's a point to this one. If you can't maintain possession, you cannot win.
Scott, hold on to the football for the entire first half, and Argo General Manager Mike McCarthy might be offering you a contract. But Joe, losing the football is not a problem exclusive to the Argos.
Well, it certainly isn't. Both of those teams have changed their personalities over last year, but the Argos have fumbles and the Calgary Stampede have interceptions.
Well, the Argos lead the league in turnovers, having given the ball away 45 times, and if they continue at that pace throughout the season, they will establish a league record. Doug Flutie has had 21 of his passes intercepted, but Flutie is not as concerned about interceptions as he is about wins and losses.
Well, I think what Doug Flutie's trying to do is two things. He's trying to not be concerned so that he can psychologically be ready to throw that football at any time. And number two, what he has to do, Doug Flutie knows that he's taking his reads properly. It's just that the balls have been tipped.
Coach Wally Buono told me yesterday that of the 21 interceptions, only 5 could be directly blamed on Flutie. Scott?
Okay, Don, 2 minutes and it's still sticking, and hanging on to the ball has been a problem for the Rocket this season. We'll talk to him on Live at the Half. We'll also go live to Woodbine for a preview of a $1 million horse race, the Molson Export Million, which follows this telecast. Stickum or crazy glue, I'm not exactly sure, but if they let me use it, I could probably even play this game. We'll see how the Argos do without it today.
Rocket fuel. Gregory is a member of the War Amps Champ program for child amputees. He visited the Sky Dome to present the Play Safe Award to CFL Commissioner Larry Smith.
Thank you very much for the beautiful plaque, Gregory. The CFL is proud to support the Play Safe program. Hey, Greg, do you have a message for the kids watching here? Whatever game you play, play safe.
The roof to the dome is open this afternoon on a beautiful sunny afternoon in southern Ontario with a temperature of 18 degrees. The Toronto Argonauts have had a great deal of success in this facility, winning 17 of their 19 most recent games played here, and as a head coach, Adam Rita has a record of 16 wins and 11 losses. The Toronto Argonauts are preparing to kick off to the Calgary Stampeders, and the Stampeders have to go back to 1989 for their last victory in the Sky Dome, September 23rd to be exact, when they won by a score of 20-13. Lance Chomik preparing to kick off. Mitchell and Pee Wee Smith waiting for the ball, and Mitchell will start back for the Stampeders with a good return. He brings the ball up to the 50-yard line, forced out by Jeff Braswell.
Well, there's the guy that could be there, very well be the key to the ball game. Doug Flutie has to get the football to Mitchell to make those Argos, who played a great game last week defensively. The Argos have got to respect the running game to help Flutie's passing.
Doug Flutie this year is on pace to establish a league record for total yards, a mark he set last year while wearing the uniform of the BC Lions. 1st and 10, the ball is at the 47-yard line. That's where they rule that Mitchell stepped out. Flutie is forced to pull it down. He'll try and run, and he's forced out of bounds by Don Moan after a gain of about 6, maybe 7 yards. This is the way the Stampeders line up offensively, and potentially the Stampeders have 4 receivers who could go over 1,000 yards this year. A new offensive line. The only holdover from a year ago is Ken Moore. This offensive line has permitted the fewest quarterback sacks in the CFL this year. 2nd and 3. Flutie will try and put it in the air. It's complete to Sapunjas.
Get him, Reggie.
And Reggie Pleasant hauls him down, but not before Sapunjas gets all the way to the 21-yard line, a gain of 31. And what a success story Dave Sapunjas has been this year.
Now, Dave Sapunjas is the heart and soul of their offense. They have found so many times double coverage on Alan Pitts, and when that happens, Dave Sapunjas has single coverage, and he can beat it.
Sapunjas had a career-high 175 yards in a game earlier this year against the BC Lions. That exceeded his total for all of last year. On 1st down, Flutie wide open in the end zone is Alan Pitts. An easy touchdown for the Stampeders. A 25-yard pass, Flutie to Alan Pitts, 6-0. Calgary leads, the Stampeders putting together a touchdown drive on their very first possession.
Well, the counter-action certainly had a bearing on that. Doug Flutie came out, counter-action. Alan Pitts sort of jogged across the field, played dead almost. He played possum, and then there he was wide open. And that's a nice catch for Alan Pitts. That's a confidence booster.
Steve Taylor will hold as Mark McLaughlin attempts the extra point. And very quickly, it's a 7-0 game. The Calgary Stampeders in front, and it required just 1 minute and 16 seconds for the Stampeders to get the game's first touchdown. I talked about the 4 receivers of the Calgary Stampeders with the potential to go over 1,000 receiving yards this year. The leader is number 18, Alan Pitts.
Well, with the flow, Carl Braisley's not close to Alan Pitts. He has struggled a little bit this year, but Pitts made a good reception on this play. Those are often the hardest catches when you're wide open.
The 6th touchdown reception this year for Alan Pitts. He thought that this year he would have an even better season than he enjoyed last year, but his statistics don't support that contention. And now Carl Braisley is explaining the defense that the Toronto Argonauts were in, and the foul up that may have occurred, allowing Pitts to be so wide open in the end zone.
Well, everybody was on that right side of the field. They had both running backs over. Carl Bracely didn't pick up the right man.
The Rocket on the kickoff return, and crab-like, the Rocket tried to move along the 30-yard line, trying to maintain his balance, but he was tripped up by Kenton Leonard after a 10-yard run back. Ricky Foggy draws the starting assignment for the Argos. He came on in relief of Mike Kerrigan in last week's 27-24 loss to the Hamilton Ticats. He put together a couple of touchdown drives in the second half. That game was on Labor Day on Tuesday morning. Adam Rita announced that Foggy would be the starting quarterback. Here's a reverse with Eddie Brown. And Brown should have a first down, forced out of bounds by Junior Thurman.
Eddie Brown is catching the football here on the reverse play. They went with two tight ends. All of the flow went to the wide side, and the leading receiver in the World League of American Football made a nice pickup on that reverse.
He was the first receiver in the World League of American Football to haul in passes for over 1,000 yards. The Argos attempting to utilize his speed on their first offensive play, and he picks up a first down. It's 1st and 10 Toronto. The ball is at the 48-yard line. Handoff inside to the pinball, a penalty flag on the play. The pinball managed to pick up just a couple of yards. He had success the last time the teams met. Bud Steen, the referee, indicating the penalty is against the Argos. The pinball carried 16 times on July 30th for 87 yards.
Holding, Toronto number 56, first down repeated.
Ian Beckstead, the center, is guilty of the holding call. Just another of the problems that have plagued the Argos all season. Williams returns to the lineup, replacing Darrell K. Smith, who is bothered with turf toe. The offensive line is the same as the one that lined up against Hamilton on Labor Day. Hitch screen to the Rocket. There are two defenders out there covering, and Kenton Leonard makes the tackle with help from the corner, Carl Anthony.
Ricky Foggy wants to go to the running game, two tight ends, but when you get a penalty and now you have to make up 20 yards, you can't get it done.
The Stampeders' defense has been very tough against the running game this year, giving up just 5 rushing touchdowns. They have moved some people around in their secondary, and they have forced the Argos back. It is now 2nd and 25. Foggy throws to the sidelines, nowhere near the intended receiver, and the Argos will be forced to kick it away.
Wally Buono wants those defensive linemen. He relies an awful lot on those front four. He wants them to get in and get their hands up. That's exactly what Stu Laird did.
In 3 years, Joe, under Wally Buono's direction, they have got off to very quick starts. 4-0-1 in 1990, 6-0 in 91. And they won their first 4 games this year before losing to the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Now, Wally's never lost in July.
Hank Olisic punting for the Argos. He had to leave last week's game against Hamilton. Pee-wee Smith is downed at the 38-yard line after a 44-yard Olisic kick. We'll be back after this. This game at the Skydome hasn't started the way Argo fans anticipated it might. The Stampeders striking quickly for the opening touchdown, a 25-yard pass from Doug Flutie to Alan Pitts. And now the Stampeders with their second possession, the ball at the 38-yard line. Flutie fakes inside. Now he's under pressure, tried to dump it off to McVeigh, and it's incomplete. 2nd and 10, Calgary. Defensively, there was nothing wrong with the Argos' play last week against the Hamilton Ticats.
Well, there was a lot of things right about the way they played the Ticats. They stymied the Ticats offensively. However, the turnovers made the difference.
Doug Flutie last year established a league record, 6,619 yards. At his current pace, he could go over 6,700 yards this year. On the far side of the field, they roll incomplete. Carl Bland was unable to hang on as he was going out of bounds. Alan Pitts is over protesting. Bland is also protesting to the official.
Well, Flutie had to face the halfback blitz. He knew he had to get rid of the ball quickly. Bland didn't give him that opportunity, and the ball was upfield, not very good connection. Those receivers have to be aware that the Argos will be blitzing.
So while the Stampeders were able to engineer a touchdown drive on their first possession, it's 2 and out the second time they get the football, and Tony Martino is back to punt for Calgary. Last week in the loss to the Edmonton Eskimos, he was called upon to punt only once. The Rocket waits for the ball at the 30-yard line. He bounces off a couple of tackles and managed to fight his way back to the 30. That's where they'll scrimmage 1st and 10. Scott?
Okay, Don, just in case some were left spellbound by the Stickham history lesson at the start of this telecast, they banned this stuff in 1980, and it greatly affected the career of a former NFL great, Fred Biletnikoff, who came to Montreal to finish his football career. You know, before every game, he put this stuff over his whole body. He'd have so much on that he couldn't touch himself. He'd sit there and say, gum, gun. The trainers would bring him gun. Then he'd say, cigarette, cigarette. Trainers would come over and help him smoke. Joe was with Montreal at that time. Joe, if I'm not mistaken, it's because of Biletnikoff that they banned the Velcro football glove combination in the CFL, wasn't it?
I think you're right about that, Scott. Freddie was known throughout football as wearing a lot of Stickham.
I think the odd player tries to still sneak it onto his equipment somewhere where he can spread it on his gloves during the course of a game. Would that be fair?
I understand a clear shoe polish works very much the same way.
The Ottawa Rough Riders are taking it to the first place Hamilton Ticats. They lead 14-0. Foggy on second down is being pursued by Alondra Johnson. His pass was intended for Eddie Brown, incomplete. Brown was being covered by Kenton Leonard.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of two things. You're going to see Alondra Johnson on Ricky Foggy most of the day. Foggy's dangerous ability to escape the rush makes them add an extra guy. Alondra Johnson will be that guy, and Kenton Leonard is going to have to do a job on those slots.
Alisic broke his leg in an off-season skiing accident, and it has hampered him from time to time during the course of the season. Penalty flag on the play. Crawford trying to get outside. There's 2 more penalty flags on the turf here at the Sky Dome. A no yards call probably was the initial infraction. And there could be an illegal block as Crawford attempted to return down the right side.
Well, we'll go with the net. No yards, illegal block, 5-yard net. That's my prediction.
Ken Moore and Carl Brazeley are having the penalties explained to them by referee Bud Steen.
No yards. Toronto number 21. Holding Calgary number 79. First down Calgary.
A now retired official once told me that the way he used to explain the penalties was, do you want to have the ball way up here or do you want them to have it way down there? It hasn't been a great summer for boating enthusiasts in southern Ontario. It's rained most weekends, but under sunny skies. Many are taking advantage of calm winds and bright blue skies and are out on Lake Ontario this afternoon. Mitchell, the ball carrier, stopped by Harold Hallman right at the line of scrimmage.
That's going to be a key for the Argos, their ability to stop Mitchell on first down. That counterplay wasn't there because Hallman did a great job of running through the gap when the lineman pulled.
Bruce Covington was the lineman who tried to pull out, but Harold Hallman was able to beat him to the ball carrier, Eric Mitchell, as we see Harding involved in a skirmish at the guard position with Rocco Romano. Flutie sidearms it to Bland on the sidelines. He has a first down. He takes it to the Toronto 48-yard line, stopped there by Don Wilson.
Well, we saw Rodney Harding on the last play. On this particular play, he really came through and gave Flutie a tough time, and Flutie has a unique ability to get rid of that football when he's in trouble. Harding was all over him.
The coaches tell me that Harding is having an outstanding season, perhaps the best season he has had in his CFL career.
And that's a dangerous Harding because he's the all-time sack leader for the Argos.
First and 10 Calgary. The ball is at the 48 of Toronto. 8:09 remaining in the opening quarter. It's 7-0. The Stampeders leading. Screen pass to Mitchell. And Mitchell is stopped as he got to the 40, a pickup of about 8. Jeff Braswell, the middle linebacker, came over to tackle Mitchell.
That's exactly what they're trying to do, is to get everybody on the Argos to overplay the wide side of the field. They had 4 receivers over there, and they came back with the screen pass to Mitchell, and you see the guy with the Calgary number on. He's signaling thumbs up. Good play.
Stampeders with a record of 6-3 and an opportunity to move into a first-place tie with the Edmonton Eskimos in the Western Division. The Eskimos losing on Friday night to the BC Lions. Harold Hallman makes the tackle. Rodney Harding initially applied the pressure, and Harold Hallman finished the job. Joe? Harold Hallman holds a Calgary club record for most quarterback sacks in one season. He was credited with 19.
Yeah, he won a Shenley when he was with Calgary, and he looks like a Shenley winner in that play. He second down and 3. They elected to run. Harold Hallman shut him off.
Mark McLaughlin will attempt a field goal. He is the scoring leader in the Canadian Football League, 115 points. A 51-yard field goal attempt is going to fall short. The Rocket looks for a couple of blocks and gets one, and is forced out of bounds up at the 40-yard line. Braswell came back and picked off David Sapunjas and really flattened him, enabling the Rocket to return it 40 yards.
Well, the Rocket gets the football, and he sees an opening to the outside, but watch Braswell come in and what they call earhole Sapunjas. They really put him down. Good return by the Rocket.
First and 10 for the Toronto Argonauts at the 40-yard line. The pinball. Tried to go inside, tried to change his route and head to the outside, but Tim Cofield was having none of it. And there will be a loss of about a yard on the play. Joe, the Argos have had problems this year hanging on to the football. Perhaps you can tell us the proper way of holding it.
Well, this is not the proper way when that ball can be hit front or backwards, up or down. This is the way to hold it. Cover the points of the ball. You got to be able to cover all 4 points, particularly when you go down. That other arm's got to come up, pull the ball in. Your ribs have to help you hold the football.
Second and 11. Ricky Foggy from an audible drills the pass in, and Eddie Brown will have it very close to a first down.
Ken Watson was all over Eddie Brown. Foggy put the ball in there, the only place it could have gone. He threw a dart on that particular pass. Hey, and that's a nice reception by Brown.
Further to what you were talking about, holding the football, you form a bit of a V with your middle finger and your index finger over the point of the ball. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got to have a vice action on that. A lot of people use the thumb and that index finger, and then the ball goes between your index finger and your middle finger, and that really squeezes it back in towards your elbow. You've got to keep that tight leverage, and then your ribs have to help as well. Adam Reed has been plagued by fumbles this year. He says it's a lot of extra effort that's hurting him.
The Argos are going to be gambling on third down. And you know, when you talk about turnovers, when teams fail to make it on a third down gamble, that is also a turnover. But the Argos won't be turning it over this time, as they do pick up the first down in the quarterback sneak by Ricky Foggy. But Joe, in 9 games, the Argos have turned it over 45 times. That's an average of 5 turnovers per game.
Well, Adam Rita will tell you, usually a football coach will say, we have to have less than 4 turnovers. We cannot have more than 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers will get you beat. Well, they've averaged 5 turnovers. That's why Adam's beard's getting a little gray.
And it appears as though he's intent upon letting that beard grow throughout the balance of the season. Zizakovic has come into the game, replacing Hasselback. 1st and 10 for the Argos. Inside handoff to Clemens. The Argos felt that they would like to establish a ground game against the Stampeders, obviously checking last week's game films where the Edmonton Eskimos had so much success running against Calgary on Labor Day.
Now, Calgary gave up a lot of yardage rushing. But you see Alondra Johnson shedding the blocker. He gets rid of the blocker and makes a nice tackle on the pinball. The 2 tight end system doesn't always work for the Argos.
A gain of 4. It's 2nd and 6. The Ottawa Rough Riders really pouring it on against the Hamilton Ticats. Stefan Jones with a touchdown, and it's now 21-0. Ottawa leading Hamilton. The pass was intended for the Rocket. Incomplete. The Ottawa Rough Riders smarting after becoming the first team in the CFL to lose to the BC Lions, and now returning home and pouring it on against the Ticats.
I think Ottawa's a tough ball club when they're playing at home. I think those fans really get into the ball game. They give them that extra incentive.
We'll have highlights of the Ottawa-Hamilton game at halftime. A direct snap to Darian Hagan on a 3rd down gamble, and the newest addition to the Argos is stopped well short of a 1st down. Darian Hagan signed this week with the Argos after being released by the San Francisco 49ers of the NFL. He came into the ball game for a direct snap on 3rd down.
What they are allowed to do is to put that quarterback in the game in a position where he can get the football.
He has tremendous athletic ability, but he couldn't do anything with it as the Stampeders appeared ready, and David Sapunjas was ready to haul in a Doug Flutie pass for another Calgary 1st down.
Flutie's really playing that free safety. The free safety's like a goalie back there, and he's really trying to favor the side of Alan Pitts. That's why Sapunjas is open.
Flutie this year has had 5 games where he has passed for over 400 yards. 5 for 7 for 92 so far in today's football game, with a 25-yard touchdown toss to Alan Pitts. Flutie is looking to the end zone for Crawford. It's intercepted by Ed Berry. A league-high 22 interceptions for Doug Flutie. The Argos picked off 3 Flutie passes the last time they met in a 28-26 loss at McMahon Stadium on July 30th, and Ed Berry has the first interception of this afternoon's ball game.
Flutie came out off of the play fake, and he laid the ball up there, but that's a great recovery by Ed Berry. He just came over and took the ball away.
Momentarily, it appeared as though Crawford was open.
Yeah, he certainly beat him on the first 5 steps.
From the 25, Foggy trying to go for it all with the rocket. It's intercepted. A one-handed interception by Carl Anthony, and very quickly the Stampeders get the ball back at the 51 of the Argos.
Now Foggy tried to come back with they're trying to outduel each other. This is the dueling quarterbacks. Foggy came right back with a bomb to the rocket, but Anthony plays this thing about as well as Ed Berry played the last one. He just came out of nowhere and took the ball away. That's catching the football at its high point. And he paid the price with a bear hug.
A 21-yard return for Carl Anthony, and the Stampeders have the ball back. 1st and 10. They are at the Toronto 51-yard line. 2:41 remaining in the opening quarter. It's a 7-0 game. The Stampeders leading. No running room inside for Mitchell. The initial contact by Harold Hallman. And then linebacker Don Moen moved in to finish the job. Mitchell last week against the Edmonton Eskimos had difficulties hanging on to the football.
Well, this time he had difficulty deciding where to go. And they have an expression, don't dance. Just run straight ahead if you're in doubt. Or he who hesitates is lost.
Something like that. 2nd and 9. 3 receivers wide to the right. Flutie throwing for Sapunjas. Incomplete. Carl Brazeley, the veteran inside halfback, was back defending on Dave Sapunjas. You may recall earlier you saw Brazeley on the headphones speaking to the spotting booth upstairs. Whatever problems he may have had on the first touchdown catch by Alan Pitts was certainly corrected on this play.
Do you think they told him on the headset to grab his belt and stay with him? It looked like Brazeley just took a ride.
Do anything you can, Carl, to stay with your man.
That's called good coverage.
Martino stands at his own 46-yard line. It's a good punt. The Rocket takes it at the 4. And he dances to the 20-yard line. Scott?
A year ago at this time, the Argos were a solid first-place team, and now here they are with everyone gunning for them, and the Argos all too willing to accommodate the other teams with self-destructive turnovers like this one on Monday in Hamilton. You know, you could argue the Argos have beaten themselves through turnovers in almost all of their 6 losses. A late fumble played a key role in Calgary's 2-point win on July 30th. They turned the ball over 8 times in the August 13th loss to Winnipeg, and how about last week? An interception by Fields was only one of 8 giveaways in the loss to Hamilton. I think the Argos need look no further than themselves to explain a 3-6 record, Don.
Yes, the Argos to a man will probably say that their record could just as easily be 6-3 this year.
Well, no question, without the turnovers, the Argos could have beaten anybody. I'm impressed with Harold Hasselback. He came around the outside and sacked Foggy, and he showed an awful lot of agility for the big guy. They are really big and tall up front. That has an effect on Ricky Foggy.
And Alondra Johnson playing the middle backs up those 4 down linemen. Pressure again by the Stampeders, and they drop Foggy for a loss back at the 16-yard line. Matt Finlay came from the outside to close the door on Ricky Foggy.
Well, Matt Finley, youngster from Eastern Michigan, #1 draft choice. He did a great job. Johnson probably helped, causing Schmidt to come in and block him. That freed up Matt Finley.
Matt would probably say thanks for calling him a youngster, but at 30 years of age, I don't think he falls into that category.
Well, he looks young, doesn't he? I'll tell you how young he is, Don. I drafted him.
If you drafted him, that must make him a very old ball player. Pee Wee Smith on the receiving end of the 3rd down punt, a 40-yarder. J.P. Esquerdo made the tackle. The Argos, depending on what happens in the games involving Winnipeg and Ottawa, with a win today, could move into a tie for 2nd place. Winnipeg is at home to Saskatchewan. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders this afternoon will be looking to close in on both Edmonton and Calgary. They have a chance to tie for 2nd, depending on the outcome of this game here at Skydome. The BC Lions on Friday night winning their 2nd consecutive game, defeating the Edmonton Eskimos at home in what will be considered the upset of the week in the CFL. Good inside fake by Flutie. Pass is complete to Sapunjas, who did a good job coming back to help out his quarterback, who was in the grasp of Rodney Harding when he threw.
Well, Sapunjas is very smart. He finds his quarterback in trouble, comes back to get open.
And that is the final play of the opening quarter. Obviously an Argo fan, but so far the Argos have not been able to do much. Mike Campbell playing a defensive end position for the Toronto Argonauts, having a good year after an outstanding season last year. Teams are a little more familiar with Mike Campbell, though, in this 1992 season. Sideline pass for Bland for another Calgary 1st down, taken out of bounds by Reggie Pleasant. Statistically, the Stampeders put together much of their 102 yards on their opening drive. There have been 3 turnovers so far in the game. These teams 1 and 2 in the turnover department.
Well, it doesn't look like they're vulnerable to the rush as originally indicated by the Argos, does it? 15 yards, not much.
1st and 10, the ball is at the 35-yard line. Flutie throwing for Pitts. He can't hang on. Carl Brazeley managed to recover and perhaps strip the ball away from him. It looked as though Pitts had it in his hands. And once Alan Pitts gets his hands on it, he doesn't usually drop it.
Alan Pitts has struggled a little bit this year, but that was a perfectly played defensive play by Brazeley. I mean, he just knocked it out of the way. Can't fault Pitts on that particular play.
Alan Pitts, with his touchdown reception on the opening drive, now has a 37 consecutive game streak going of catching at least one pass. 2nd and 10 from the 35 from the shotgun. Flutie throws to the sidelines, and Sapunjas takes a hit, but more importantly, he hangs on to the ball as he's driven out of bounds by Carl Brazeley.
When you say he takes a hit, I think that was an understatement, Don. He took a huge hit from Brazeley. Brazeley unloaded on him right as he caught the football. Covington, the rookie, has played well this year, and you see him here on Crush Campbell. He did a good job of pass protecting.
Covington, a first-round draft choice of the Stampeders. They have 4 of this year's draft selections in the lineup. They're gambling on 3rd down, and Doug Flutie had to get to about the 24-yard line, and it appears as though his forward progress carried that far, but Wally Buono will actually anxiously watch to see where they spot the football. And we get the signal from referee Bud Steen that it is a first down.
And he got a good push from Rocco Romano, and he just followed him through for the first down. Tough to hold Doug Flutie to 1 yard. You see, McDonald and Romano, they got a good push. Even Covington came down to the inside and helped out. They're going to bend Flutie in half.
1st and 10. Flutie rolls to the short side, fires to the sidelines for Bland, and that should be another first down.
With that man-to-man coverage, they're doing a great job of counter action. That freezes the linebackers. Flutie does a good job here faking. You know, they talk to us a lot about the running game, and they haven't run much. They've been faking the run, and then Flutie delivers to Bland. That's a nice play.
Bland has been on the receiving end of 3 passes for 45 yards. Andy McVeigh helped out that time with the block on Mike Campbell. 1st and 10. The ball is at the 13-yard line. The toss to Mitchell, and Mitchell isn't going anywhere. Don Moen, the outside linebacker, made the tackle.
And Dave Van Bellingham, safety blitz, right up there, ready to help out.
The 183rd consecutive game for Don Moen this afternoon. If he continues to play all games over the balance of the season, he'll move into about number 6 position on the all-time list in the CFL. Quite a career, Joe.
And he had a beautiful daughter at his practice yesterday, taking it in.
Who was celebrating a birthday.
Celebrating her birthday.
A loss of a couple. Here comes pressure from the outside. Knocked away by Carl Brazeley, intended for Alan Pitts. Ken Benson forced Doug Flutie to throw perhaps just a little quicker than he wanted to.
Exactly what happened. Benson's in there. Flutie's got to throw the ball. And Brazeley had the time to make it up. Timing is so important on pass coverage. So Brazeley comes over, perfect play right on the football. Alan Pitts is saying, hey, what do I got to do to get a touchdown? There's Benson with good pressure. Campbell also gave Flutie an extra shove, so Flutie's in some traffic.
Mark McLaughlin, who missed on his first field goal try from 51 yards out, will now attempt a 22-yarder. This one is good, and the Calgary Stampeders take a 10-0 lead with 10:54 remaining in the opening half at Skydome. I'm told this is a non-such sailboat on the waters of Lake Ontario. Joe, do you think we'll see any such boats when we're here for the Grey Cup game on November 29th on Lake Ontario?
Could have some skates on them.
The Rocket on the kickoff return. Taken out of bounds by Junior Thurman up at the 47-yard line. Scott?
All kinds of talk about who's on and who's off the list of potential owners in BC. Larry Rickman already owns a team, the Calgary Stampeders. What can you tell us about the BC situation without overstepping your bounds?
Scott, really all I can say is to the BC fans, just be a little bit more patient, and thank you for being patient so far, but I think we're really close, and I think it's going to happen within the next couple of weeks.
So you're here to say there is an owner?
I'm here to say that we're very close.
What about your team? Calgary Stampeders in the black this year. That's good news.
Yes, but we're only halfway through the season, but if we can keep the attendances up, then we'll be there.
That would be a miracle of finance, would it not?
It would be a miracle, that's for sure. But no, things are really turning in the CFL. Crowds are up, and we'll just have to see what the weather holds for us.
So you've been getting enough fans in to pay that enormous salary to Doug Flutie, then?
Well, it's a big budget overall, but the fans are there, and thank you, Calgary.
Was it $1 million gate you had last week?
Pretty close too. 38,000 people with an average ticket price of $20-some-odd, so it worked out okay.
Congratulations, Larry. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Don?
Yes, 38,205 at McMahon Stadium on Labor Day, an all-time record crowd. The average attendance for the Stampeders this year is over 29,000. Eddie Brown has a first down as he spins his way into the Calgary 48-yard line. Watson and Leonard made the tackle.
Well, the Argos have gone to Eddie Brown and the Rocket on the same side of the field. That puts pressure on the defense. Nice delivery by Ricky Foggy. There's two speedsters on one side of the field, and the Calgary has not been able to get it done.
Brown is moving around. He lines up at a wide receiver position on occasion and then switches with David Williams, who initially started the game at slot back, and Williams makes the catch. Williams is in the lineup replacing Darrell K. Smith, who was out with a turf toe problem.
Well, David Williams looks at this as being his chance to get a reprieve. He's been in the doghouse. He's had some slight injuries. Now Hasselback has been trying to pressure that quarterback because he knows that core of receivers, there's only one way to stop them, and that's a good pass rush.
Wally Buono was saying that Hasselback and Sapunjas have made tremendous strides in their play from last year to this season. 2nd and 4. Hitch screen to Williams. It isn't going anywhere. Ken Watson made sure of that. Your favorite play, Joe?
My favorite play, the old hitch screen for 2 yards. Well, this is tough on Williams. I can see he had to come back to get the football. Now Ken Watson is right there one-on-one. He puts him down, and they're going to go for it. It's 3rd and about 2 yards. Wally Buono is expecting some sort of a trick in this situation. Ricky Foggy knows that he's got enough speed to scramble himself for that much.
A 3rd down gamble by the Argos. Foggy pitches it out to the pinball. He won't get it. He tosses it back to Masadi, but the whistle had already gone. The play was ruled dead. Alondra Johnson made the tackle, and Adam Rita has gambled twice now on 3rd down, and twice the gambles have failed. 8:04 remains in the half. Alondra Johnson stopped the pinball on the 3rd down gamble, but Joey had help from a lot of his friends.
Well, we said Ricky Foggy that they would be doing some kind of a trick, and that's exactly what they did. They ran the option play, and watch how many people didn't go for it. There's Alondra making the big initial hit, but count how many heads there are right here. There's seven Calgary people.
Coaches often talk about gang tackling, and there was certainly evidence of what they stress to their defensive unit.
That was a team tackle rather than a gang tackle.
Eric Mitchell stopped after a couple of yards by Moan and Braswell. There have not been many occasions during the course of this season when the Sky Dome roof has been open for either football or baseball. But it's a beautiful sunny afternoon in southern Ontario. The sun has been shining so far on the Stampeders, who lead it by a score of 10-0. Doug Flutie going for more. He's got Carl Bland open. Big first down to the 34-yard line.
That's one of Calgary's strategies. Catch the ball in a seam versus zone, but more importantly, run after you catch the football. Carl Bland pulled that ball in, and he made a lot of yards after he caught the ball. Great pass protection, but this is the key to receivers with speed. They've got to run after the catch.
You see the job that Ken Moore does against Rodney Harding in providing protection for Doug Flutie. A 34-yard gain on the pass to Bland. This one is knocked down at the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure whether it was Mike Campbell or Harold Hallman who may have got a hand up to block the Flutie throw.
It looked like it was Campbell, and you know, when you look at those defensive linemen, offensive linemen, it's like they're boxing for a living. And Doug Flutie's not a very big guy. He wants to get out of the way of those boxers, and there's one of the big boxers.
Well, Flutie doesn't often stay in the pocket. He rolls to the outside, either left or right. Not only does he buy his receivers some additional time, but he also opens things up so he can see where he's throwing the football.
Yeah, you talk about two-step drop, three-step drop. Flutie takes 20 steps on this play, 25, 30.
And he runs out of bounds, very close to another first down, forced out by Carl Brazeley.
37 steps on that play. That's not a three-step.
You're sure 37, not 36?
I counted 37. That's not a three-step drop. That's the value of a quarterback in this league. They escape the problems that they have with the pass rush, and then they turn it into your problem because they're downfield.
Unable to find a receiver, Flutie opted to take off, and he picks up another Calgary first down. 1st and 10 for the Stampeders. They are at the Toronto 22-yard line. 10-0. Calgary leads. Nowhere close to Derek Crawford. That appeared to be a tweener. It appeared as though Flutie was a little uncertain as to whether to try and dump it off to Mitchell or throw wide to Crawford.
Well, he didn't get very good pass protection. John Huffnagel knows they've got to get Flutie to the outside because Hallman and Harding sandwiched Flutie on that play, so he really didn't have time to do anything. I'm impressed with Flutie's vision. He knows where the pass rush is at all times and throws the ball accordingly.
You saw John Huffnagel, a former quarterback in the CFL, the architect of the Calgary offense. He and Flutie worked very closely in devising a game plan. Pass is complete to Alan Pitts, a big target down at the 5-yard line. Flutie was taking the straight drop, and he had a defender coming in on him. Ken Benson couldn't get there in time, and Pitts managed to make the catch with Don Wilson defending against him.
He made a clean break, and that's what made the play go. Alan Pitts has that ability to sell you in one direction and then go the other.
1st and goal for the Stampeders. The ball is at the 4-yard line. Andy McVeigh gets to the goal line. Is he over? No signal yet from the official. He obviously did not break the plane. McVeigh is protesting that he did.
And remember, that ball will come back to the 1-yard line. You know, in talking last night with Wally Buono, he didn't feel threatened that his running game wasn't up there in yardage. He said, we can make the yards when we have to. And that's a good push from Covington and Romano again. They got a good thrust. That was very close to a touchdown, but it does come back to the 1-yard line.
Wally Buono sends in the short yardage unit. Andy McVeigh, who played at the University of Toronto, dearly would have loved to score a touchdown here in front of family and friends. Flutie tries to go over the top. He didn't make it. Flutie is signaling to the bench.
Good timing. They had a good surge from the underneath people. The guys up front, they had a good surge from Hallman and Harding, and then they got good play by Braswell up above. Benson, Braswell timed it up when Flutie tried to dive.
Flutie was looking for some help from the bench on the 3rd down gamble. He gives it to McVeigh. This time he scores.
Wally Buono was right. They can make the yards when it counts. That was 3rd down, and that counted.
University of Toronto product Andy McVeigh makes it 16-0 Calgary with 3:31 remaining in the first half.
Well, now that you're Toronto, what do? You got Ricky Foggy, the only experienced quarterback now. Blair Keel hasn't had much practice. Look at McVeigh. Shoulders right into the goal line. Pleasant can't help.
On Monday, in the Labor Day loss to the Hamilton Ticats, the defense controlled Hamilton's offense. Turnovers resulted in the 27-24 loss. But the defense is having all sorts of problems today with Doug Flutie, who has led his team to a 17-0 lead. A helicopter view of the Sky Dome and downtown Toronto as provided by Four Seasons Aviation. 17-0. The Calgary Stampeders lead the Argos as the Rocket waits for the football at the 15-yard line. He brings it back to the 35-yard line, a 20-yard return. That's where Toronto will scrimmage 1st and 10. Scott?
Okay, Don, on Live at the Half today, we'll examine a few highlights from the Ottawa-Hamilton game. It started at the same time as this one at Lansdowne Park, and Ottawa off to a quick start, leading 22-10. When you make as much money as the Rocket does, you're under intense scrutiny. How is he handling it? What does he think of his future in the Canadian Football League? Those are questions to which we'll get the answer in a conversation away from the ballpark with Ragib Ismail on Live at the Half, Don.
He has been receiving special attention this afternoon from the Calgary Stampeders. The pass to the other side of the field to David Williams, and he has a first down. Junior Thurman forced him out of bounds. Carl Anthony over on the opposite side was defending against the Rocket. 3:04 remains in the first half. The Argos looking for their first points of the game. 3:04 is the time remaining in the first half. 17-0 the Stampeders lead. The Argos with a first down on a pass from Foggy to Williams are at their own 46-yard line. This time the Rocket lines up wide to the left. Williams comes to the right side. The opposite formation to the previous play. Foggy loses the football. He got it back. Or did he? It appeared as though Foggy was able to scoop it up in front of two Calgary players, and apparently he did.
Well, Foggy tried to pull the ball down. He knows that he doesn't have anybody downfield. The rush is starting to get to him. As he pulled the ball down, it jumped out of there. I don't know how he recovered it, but somehow he covered it with his body.
Joe, as a coach, you'd be shaking your head at the number of times this Toronto team has turned the football over. Lost control of the ball, either with a fumble or an interception after a gain had been made. There's another example, but they rule an incomplete pass that Eddie Brown did not have control of the football. That was close.
Very close. Eddie Brown pulled the ball in. Darryl Hall kicked the ball back out when he hit him. That's why they have a guy like, watch Darryl Hall, a guy like him, they give him a good old sandwich. Alondra Johnson helped it. But you got a Hall, he's a defensive back that's tough enough to play linebacker, and that makes all kinds of adjustments possible for the Calgary team.
Hank Olisic is kicking to Pee Wee Smith, who will take it at the 11. And he won't get beyond the 20-yard line. Worthman is downfield to make the tackle. Pretty good coverage by both sides on special teams. Pee Wee Smith ranks number 6 in all-purpose yards this year in the Canadian Football League. The Rocket is the leader. Blair Keel, who signed just over a week ago with the Argos. He played in the National Football League with Tampa Bay, with Atlanta, and with Indianapolis. And the most recent quarterback signee, Darian Hagan. He led the University of Colorado to an Orange Bowl victory in 1991 over Ragib Ismail and Notre Dame. Not many points on the board. It was only 10-9 in that 1991 game. The Argos right now have 5 quarterbacks around, in addition to the 2 who are dressed today. John Kangemi and Mike Kerrigan are also available to the Argos.
Yeah, Ricky Foggy's the only one that's got CFL experience. There's a nice screen pass by Mitchell, and he sort of got hypnotized by Benson.
2:01 remaining. Calgary leading by 17, obviously, with more plays than the Argos. Oh, that one was close to being intercepted. On the sidelines, it was Sapunjas who initially deflected the ball, and Reggie Pleasant had it bounce away from him. Flutie, who leads the league in interceptions, has already tossed one into an Argo defender's hands this afternoon. That was picked off by Ed Berry in the opening quarter.
Now you see the blitz coming. Flutie had to get rid of the football. They haven't been able to handle the blitz very well. That's the only thing the Argos have had success in stopping Flutie, is the defensive backs blitzing.
The Rocket takes Martino's kick. There's a penalty flag, and he is taken out of bounds up at the 49-yard line by Paul Klatny. A 33-yard kick, a 7-yard return.
No yards. Calgary number 8. First down.
So that will improve the Argos field position with 1:40 remaining in the half. Scott?
Don, the words turf and toe don't do justice to how badly Darrell K. Smith feels. He's in a lot of pain and in street clothes today because of it. You couldn't have played today, could you?
No, I couldn't have played. Aggravated pretty bad there in Hamilton on Labor Day, and I was just been able to put a shoe on just a day ago, so it's pretty bad. But the rest, hopefully, I'll be back next week for BC.
You know, Darrell, this team has gone a few first quarters this game without scoring a point. Now you threaten to go the whole first half without one. What's wrong with the Argos?
Well, right now, defense is playing well. We got the ball in good field position, and hopefully that'll change right now. And that's all we need.
Well, I know you were watching that pass to see if the bomb was complete, but it was not, and that's symptomatic of the way it's gone today.
Yeah, we're struggling right now, trying to find ourselves. Ricky's got a new unit in there with Eddie Brown and first time playing slot, but no excuses. We still got a lot of veterans out there, so somehow we're going to have to find a way to get it done.
DK, thanks for your time and speedy recovery.
Thank you very much.
Don?
Yes, the Argo offense has to find ways of putting points on the board. When you look at the Toronto point total this year, Joe, 5 touchdowns have been contributed by the defensive side.
Yeah, 35 points is a good defensive production for 9 games.
Ricky Foggy couldn't find David Williams, and now he throws in the direction of the Rocket. The Stampeders are claiming that he intentionally grounded the ball, throwing it away as Matt Finlay and Shreko Zizakovic were pressuring him, but there was no penalty flag. I guess the ruling was that the Rocket was in the vicinity of where the ball landed.
Well, he was in the stadium. That's the vicinity. Foggy struggled, but it looks to me like his best suit is when he sprints out. Foggy, as a drop-back quarterback, he's had that problem with pass protection, so when he does roll out, at least he's only facing 1 rusher, possibly 2 rushers. He seems much more effective.
Lance Chomik will be attempting a 48-yard field goal. It's wide. Pee-wee Smith brings it out of the end zone and is stopped at the 16 by Paul Nastasiuk with 1:17 remaining in the first half. With the Sky Dome roof open, the winds swirl in off Lake Ontario, and they bounce off the enclosed end of the Sky Dome, and they create some swirling conditions that kickers often complain about here in this facility.
Yeah, the kickers will tell you that the wind changes. The direction of the wind changes, and it does. This Sky Dome acts, it's like a cave. It acts like a catch-all. You never know where the wind will be.
First and 10 Calgary from the 16-yard line. Flutie to Sapunjas, and Sapunjas is stopped at the 19 by Carl Brazeley. Sapunjas this year has already exceeded his career totals.
And this guy, Doug Flutie, I mean, here is Brian Warren right in his face. Brian Warren, unblocked, came in at Doug Flutie, and Flutie somehow got the ball out to Sapunjas.
Sapunjas only got 4 yards as we move into the final minute of the half. 2nd and 6. Flutie operates from the shotgun. Over the head of Alan Pitts. So the Argos will get the ball back. 47 seconds still remaining on the clock in the first half here at Sky Dome. with Doug Flutie and the Stampeders leading 17-0. The Stampeders anxious to move back into a first-place tie with the Edmonton Eskimos. The Eskimos won the traditional Labor Day battle 34-21 at McMahon Stadium before the record crowd to move into first place. But now the opportunity is there for the Stampeders to move back into a tie after the Eskimos lost on Friday night to the BC Lions. Eddie Brown at the 50. Good downfield tackle by Aaron Ruffin. He's the designated import for this game, added to the roster as a backup defensive back and employed on special teams, and he accepts congratulations as Brown loses 5 yards on the attempted return.
Aaron Ruffin from Nichols State goes into that defensive secondary as a designated import, and if they have any problems with nicks or bruises in that defensive secondary, then they've got the ability to get him in there, and he's a good ball player. He's been on their practice roster.
38 seconds remaining. Foggy gets to the outside, dumps it off, and it will produce a gain of well, won't even produce a gain as he stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Brown was tackled there by Ken Watson.
Well, Alondra Johnson was all over Ricky Foggy once again, and we said that's what they're going to do to prevent Ricky Foggy from running with the football. Alondra Johnson right up on top of it.
2nd and 10. 20 seconds remaining in the half. Foggy is taking a lot of time to get this play underway. Got the pinball on the sidelines, but despite the best efforts of Mike Clemens, he can't get a first down.
Well, that's not a very good play when you have to get the first down to get yourself in field goal position. It's unlikely pinball is going to be able to break that many tackles. I've seen him do it, but that's all 3 linebackers taking a hit on him.
The pinball was a key figure in the 28-26 Toronto loss at McMahon Stadium on July 30th, both as a runner and as a pass receiver. A timeout has been called by the Stampeders with 6 seconds remaining in the half. Hank Alisic stands at his own 40-yard line for this 3rd down kick. Wally Buono's teams, in the 3 years he has coached the Stampeders, when they take a lead to the dressing room at halftime, have a record of 19 wins, 3 losses, and a tie. Pee Wee Smith brings it back to the 17-yard line, and that should do it for the first half here at Skydome, with the Calgary Stampeders in control, leading by 17. Stay tuned for Live at the Half.
Back at Skydome, time now for Live at the Half. What has been the most heralded signing in all of pro football recently? Likely a year ago April, when Bruce McNall convinced the Rocket to come north and shun the NFL, but $4 million a year made the decision easy.
Raghib Ismail had reason to smile last season because more often than not when he touched the football, there were signs of brilliance. He used his superior athletic ability to good advantage, in particular on special teams. But this season, Ismail has been just one of many Argonauts who've had difficulty moving the ball. Injuries have hurt him, and more than most. Consider a hit that gave him a concussion in August. A knee injury followed this, and last week, finally healthy, the Rocket uncharacteristically fumbled 5 times.
Raga, people love to volunteer opinions on how you've played since you've come to the CFL, what effect you've had on the Argonauts in a year and a half. I'd like to know what you think.
I think I've been able, fortunately, to play pretty well. However, I do think I still can play a lot better.
Have we ever seen the Rocket at his best consistently at any point during your career in the CFL?
not consistently, but I think at the times when that really counted and really mattered for me to be at my best, you've seen that.
When they signed you last year, it was for so much money that you were hailed not only as the savior of the Argonauts, but as the savior of the whole Canadian Football League. Have you been able to deal with that pressure, as enormous as it might be?
Well, the way I have dealt with it has been to actually just cut it down and not let it be as pressure-filled as people might think. I basically go out and pressure is to perform well for the Argonauts, and I realize with that and the excitement that people might have or whatever, that it can be contagious, and teams around the league will want to do something to get their teams to the point where they can be marketed and people will always have them on their minds. People will know about the team in Hamilton, or people know about the team in Saskatchewan, and hopefully about the team in BC. And basically, I just think that with that, I wouldn't feel the pressure at all.
There is a clause in your contract which allows you at the end of this season, 2 years, to exercise an option and go to the NFL if you want.
Right.
What are your plans with respect to that option now?
Basically, I will just play out the next 2 years here and not even worry about that option.
So the CFL for you is a long-term commitment?
Right.
No plans to live the dream that many have coming up here to take your time, make it in the CFL, and then go to the NFL?
Well, for me, it's like I have been fortunate to kind of play with guys who are doing well in the NFL now. So it's like, even though I haven't been down, it's kind of like, well, at least I know people who I've played with and done well against who are doing well there. So I guess you can kind of say, well, I would be able to play down there if the opportunity, if I ever took the opportunity, or if it was ever presented to me in the future somewhere.
All right, Rick Gibb, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And the Rocket closer to being back on form in the first half of this game. At least he was on this return, but it has not helped as Toronto trails badly. We'll be back. There?
I don't think so, Scott, but it does seem a little strange in view, Joe, of the way both teams have turned the ball over this year. The Argos are hoping that they'll be able to make a comeback, such as the Hamilton Ticats are doing in Ottawa, but they've got their work cut out against that very tough Calgary defensive unit.
Well, Calgary's done everything right on defense. They've given the pressure when they had to have it, and they've done a good job on their pass coverage. They've shut down the running game, and that's what the Argos said they were going to come in and do. They were going to be able to run the football. They haven't done it.
The Stampeders scored a touchdown on their very first possession, and it was a Doug Flutie to Alan Pitts pass. How did Pitts get so wide open in the end zone?
Well, you see the mobility of Doug Flutie, and that is how they buy the time to get him open. They had 4 receivers to one side. There was a bust in the coverage. Alan Pitts wide open, and it's a touchdown.
And in the first half, Doug Flutie has already thrown for 194 yards. Do you think we might see a quarterbacking change on the part of the Argos? Blair Keel taking over perhaps from Ricky Foggy.
Well, they told us this week at practice that Blair Keel looked extremely sharp, that he picked up all of the adjustments. He's got the playbook well in hand. I think they'll make the change.
So don't be surprised if Blair Keel does replace Ricky Foggy to start the second half. The Argos facing a 17-point deficit here at Skydome. A comeback is an imposing task for the Argos in view of past Calgary statistics, and that they have lost only 3 times under Wally Buono when they have led at halftime. 215 net yards for the Stampeders, just 61 for the Argos. Foggy has passed for only 47 yards. 5 times he has attempted to get the ball to the Rocket. He has caught 1 pass for a loss of 5 yards. Blair Keel is and has been warming up on the sidelines in front of the Argo bench. If he does get a chance to play in the second half, Joe, what thoughts will be running through his mind?
Well, I think the first thing will be his pass protection. Remarkably different than what he will have seen in the NFL. The other thing will be the width of that field. Those outcuts are way out.
The Rocket, the leader in the CFL in all-purpose yards, coming up the sidelines, and he is forced out by Dave Sapunjas, a 30-yard run back after a 58-yard kickoff. And Ricky Foggy is going to remain in there as the quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts. We saw Keel warming up and thought that perhaps he might get a chance to play, but Adam Rada has opted to remain with his starter, Ricky Foggy. There could have been a face mask call over on the far side of the field.
Well, that should have been a call.
Worthman was hauled down by the face mask, but there was no penalty flag. Incomplete. Intended for the pinball. Junior Thurman defended against him. Foggy has been trying to get the ball to the two key people in the Argo offensive scheme, namely the pinball and the rocket, but without much success. He's only thrown a couple of passes to his backs this afternoon.
One of the strategies going into the game was to try to get the pinball, which is one of his backs, man-to-man on the linebackers. It hasn't happened.
2nd and 10. Incomplete. It went through the hands of Eddie Brown and almost wound up in the arms of the pinball. Now the fans are reacting, and they obviously will be directing some of the boos at Ricky Foggy, but that pass was well delivered. It wasn't his fault.
That's exactly what the fans are displeased with. The play didn't work. They don't want to blame it on anybody in particular, but when the ball's in the receiver's hands, hey, you got to catch it. That's a pro catch. You got to catch it.
Pee-wee Smith takes it at the 23. He ran into one of his own men, and then Blair Schmidt made sure he wasn't going any further. Scott?
Well, Don, you know as well as I do that Adam Rita is steady and easygoing, not given to emotional halftime speeches. He certainly was not last year with the Argonauts en route to the Grey Cup, and he has not been this year, not even today, with the Argonauts failing to score a single point in the first half of this game. I asked a couple of players what was said at halftime, and they said absolutely nothing. It's the way Adam does business. He has no plans to change now. Also has no plans to go away from this game plan and intends to keep Ricky Foggy in there for a while longer. Don?
Last year at the midpoint of the season, the Argos were 6-3. They finished with a 7-2 record over the final 9 games. Alan Pitts took a couple of pretty good shots as he went up, trying to haul in the throw from Doug Flutie. Dave Van Bellingham with a safety was one of those who made contact with the leading receiver on the Stampeders.
Well, you see with Sapunjas and with Alan Pitts, there's a lot of balls being thrown to the slots, but Flutie gets the ball around to most of his receivers.
Well, it's obvious that he has spread the ball around because all 4 receivers with the Stampeders could go over 1,000 yards this year. Don Wilson comes from the outside, and Flutie's pass intended for Crawford is incomplete. Ed Barry, with Wilson blitzing, dropped off in coverage and made sure that Crawford wasn't able to hang on.
They have not been able, Doug Flutie and the Calgary Stampede have not been able to handle the halfback blitz. Every time it happens, the coverage comes in tight. Flutie tries to get rid of the ball, but the coverage is too tight for him. 2 good hits on that series, Dave Van Bellingham and Ed Barry. Maybe that'll fire up the Argos a little bit.
They should get the ball back in good field position. Martino stands back at his own 8-yard line. Here comes pressure. He got it away just in time. There's a penalty flag. This could be contacting the kicker. The Rocket fields it. He juggled it and brings it back to midfield, but it will probably be called back, and it will be a contacting the kicker violation against Paul Massotti, I think.
Contacting the kicker, 88 Toronto. First down.
So with the penalty applied, the Argos, rather than get the ball back at midfield, allow the Stampeders to continue.
Maybe Adam Rita should talk to them a
Maybe
little
he
bit
should
more
jump
at
up and
halftime. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to keep everything on an even keel, but hey, when the team isn't on an even keel, The only guy that suffers is the coach.
12:51 remains in the third quarter. Rita faces a 17-point deficit. The penalty incurred by Paul Massotti contacting the kicker when the Stampeders were forced into a third down punting situation doesn't fall into the category of a turnover, but that's another of the mistakes the Argos have been guilty of all year.
Yeah, it certainly keeps a drive going.
The Stampeders retain possession, 1st and 10 at the 33-yard line. Wilson moved up, indicating he was going to blitz, then backed off. The pass is thrown complete to Pee Wee Smith. First down, Calgary, up to the 49.
Pee Wee Smith is one of those guys that it seems to ignite Calgary. He's done a great job on kick returns in the big ball games. Now he catches a simple pass out in the flat, and he turns that thing upfield with some authority. Run after you catch the football. That is Wally Boano's motto.
He attempted to spark his teammates last week for the Labor Day battle against Edmonton, predicting publicly a big Calgary win.
He was wrong.
There have been players who have predicted wins before who have made mistakes. Were you ever inclined to predict a big win, guarantee a win when you were coaching?
I always believed in the theory, walk softly.
Carry a big stick and walk softly.
Don't upset anybody. Flutie's upset because that ball was tipped. Some people criticize Doug Flutie's height or lack of height because of tipped balls, and Flutie had a good answer. He said you look between people, you look for passing lanes. But Jeff Braswell, he got his hand up in the passing lane and tipped that football.
2nd and 10. Movement at the line of scrimmage prior to the ball being snapped.
And the finger pointing goes on. It's always funny, see big, tough football players pointing fingers.
Procedure. 58 Calgary. 2nd down repeat.
Lou Cafazzo moved out of his stance. Harold Hallman reacted. But it is a procedure call against the Stampeders.
You see, the offense is supposed to move when the on a sound, when the quarterback gives them the proper sound. The defense moves on movement, so they're always going to move when the offense moves.
And immediately that Cafazzo came out of his stance, Hallman was across the line of scrimmage.
That's what he's supposed to do, move on movement.
Crawford goes wide to the right. Bland lines up to the left. 2nd and 15. Flutie from the shotgun. Bland cut to the inside, tried to go back to the sidelines and slipped as he attempted to readjust. And Flutie threw it where he wasn't.
And you want to be a quarterback? Well, watch this big guy, Harold Hallman. Watch him use his hands. Actually goes through 3 people, and he says hello to Doug Flutie. It's not hard to fall on the surface, that hard surface, but when the guy weighs 260 pounds, falls on top of you, that's hard.
Harold Hallman has played well this afternoon against his former teammates. On 3rd down, Martino saw pressure coming up the middle, and he got away an excellent kick under the circumstances. Collegiate football action this weekend. Bishops with an impressive win over Carleton. Queens beat Concordia. Laurier over Windsor. Guelph sneaking past Western. And out west, Manitoba in a wild scoring affair prevailed over Saskatchewan, and Calgary defeated the University of Alberta. And who knows, many of those same players who have performed this weekend in collegiate football ranks in Canada will be future stars in the Canadian Football League.
No question about it.
1st and 10 from the 14-yard line. Incomplete. I think Foggy's hand was hit at the line of scrimmage as he attempted to throw.
Oh, the fans don't like that at all. There wasn't anybody in the area that Ricky Foggy was throwing except Alondra Johnson, and that's the spy. Alondra is Ricky Foggy's spy. But if you're Ricky Foggy, hey, the walls are caving in. He's got nothing else to do but either throw the ball or get crushed. He did both. He threw the ball, then he got crushed.
10:26 remaining in the third quarter. 17-0 Calgary leads. 2nd and 10 Toronto. Here comes pressure. Foggy is hit just as he released the football. Matt Finlay was blitzing from his linebacking position, and he decked Foggy just as he tried to throw.
Well, Matt Finlay has played very well for Calgary, and he disguised the look. He came up to the line of scrimmage. At the last instant, Foggy had no idea he was coming from the backside. That's the worst kind of hit, when you don't know he's coming. That's a blindsider.
That could have been very close to a fumble. Foggy just got his arm up and was in the process of trying to throw as Finlay arrived.
I think it was good acting by Foggy. He just pretended he was throwing the football.
Pee Wee Smith waits for it at the midfield stripe. There's a penalty flag on the play as Smith has run out of bounds. Almost certainly this will be a no yards call. It was Kardash who forced Smith to the sidelines after a 37-yard kick. Pee Wee, as he is nicknamed, his given name is Demetrius.
Toronto number 15, first down Cal.
A no yards call against J.P. Escuerdo with 9:56 remaining in the third quarter. The Stampeders will improve their field position to the 40. Just under 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter. The Argos looking for their first points of the ball game. This is the 4th time this year that they have faced the Calgary Stampeders, and they are still looking for their initial win. In a couple of preseason games on June 25th and 30th, they lost 20-1 in Portland and 36-28 at the Skydome. On July 30th at McMahon Stadium, it was 28-26 Calgary. Right now it's 17-0 the Calgary Stampeders, with Alan Pitts taking it out of bounds for another first down in front of Don Wilson. Scott?
Well, Don, in the box next to the play-by-play booth at Skydome today is a man who played a bit of football himself. Gord Judges, a former defensive star with the Montreal Alouettes in the 70s, who's gone on to a higher calling now. He's a freelance TV cameraman behind that camera, shoots the game tapes for the Argos. You know, he was a visionary. He used to call Wally Buono coach before Wally even thought of coaching, and he called Larry Smith commissioner while Smith was still playing. I'm going to run upstairs and ask Judges who's going to win the Molson Export Million at Woodbine right after this game. Don?
Yes, and then you head right out to Woodbine Racetrack, and I'll give you a few bucks to make a wager if he's got an answer. Derek Crawford on the receiving end of the throw. Ken Benson made the tackle.
I'd like you to know what Gordon Judges used to call me, but it wasn't an announcer. There's Hallman again. Gee, this guy just keeps working. He's not a finesse pass rusher. He's a power pass rusher, and it is so effective. He wades through people, and it's practically a commonplace scene to see him on top of Doug Flutie.
He's done a fine job, not only in this game, but all season for the Toronto Argonauts in a defensive role. But Wally Buono has to be pleased with the way his offense is moving the football. It will be 2nd and a yard. Andy McVeigh, who scored an earlier touchdown, picks up the first down before being stopped by Jeff Braswell. We haven't seen either team really try to exploit the ground game today. On Labor Day, the ground game carried the Edmonton Eskimos to victory over the Stampeders.
Calgary never uses the ground game for anything other than to get down into scoring position on the goal line or short yardage.
First and 10 from the 16. Flutie steps up. He's forced to pull it down by Braswell, and he gets to the end zone. There is a late penalty flag after Flutie scored the touchdown. He was being pursued by Braswell. This could be an objectionable conduct call against the Argos.
Objectionable conduct. 99 Toronto. Penalty applied on the kickoff.
So not only do the Argos give up the touchdown, but Adam Rita will see the penalty tacked on to the kickoff. So his team will be hard-pressed to get the ball back into good field position unless there's a sparkling kickoff return.
Well, you don't know what you're really seeing until you realize what Doug Flutie did on that play. He was pressured by a blitz. They were sending the backers, and Flutie couldn't find anybody open, so he scrambled for a simple touchdown. I mean, that's a great adjustment. You know, John Huffnagel said, I draw him up that way, but I don't know if he draws plays up like this. Doug Flutie just took it up the middle, made a break to the outside, and outran Braswell, and he's getting some nice blockers downfield. Bland did a good job of blocking for him. Alan Pitts did a good job of blocking.
Flutie has deceptive speed. It didn't appear as though he was going that fast, and all of a sudden he has that ability to accelerate just when it appears as though a would-be tackler is going to reach out and grab him.
He has ability to quiet the crowd too, doesn't he? Flutie's a competitor, and I think that's the thing that marks Doug Flutie best. You give him an opportunity to make something happen.
The wide receivers downfield blocking for me at the end. Carl Bland, the man.
As he said, the wide receivers. We already said it, Doug. He's even a good announcer. But he makes things happen, doesn't he?
He has 36 of the 39 rushing yards that the Stampeders had this afternoon. Now the Rocket is going to take this kickoff at the 2-yard line. And as I said, with good downfield coverage, the Argos are going to be in a hole to start this offensive series. Aaron Ruffin was downfield to make the tackle. On their first possession, the Stampeders scored a touchdown, a 25-yard pass to Alan Pitts. In the second quarter, Mark McLaughlin hit on a 22-yard field goal. A short run by Andy McVeigh made it 17-0. That was the halftime lead. In the third quarter, Doug Flutie's 16-yard run has made it 24-0. Calgary leading Toronto as Ricky Foggy continues at the controls of the offense. He throws for the Rocket on the sidelines. He makes the catch just shy of the 30-yard line.
Good job of concentrating by the Rocket. He had to drag that foot to keep it in bounds, and he knew Anthony was right on top of him. That ball hung up in the air a while, so it took some concentration on Reg Gibbs' part.
He's had a busy afternoon returning punts and kickoffs, and he has more yards on those two teams than the Argo offense has.
Well, statistics, they don't tell it all.
Nastasiuk carried for a first down, and the crowd reacts as Carl Braisley attempts to get the spectators at Skydome involved in the proceedings.
Carl's saying, hey, we're the home team. How about let's have some help here?
That is only the 5th first down of the afternoon for the Argos. Nastasiuk will try and get another. He'll be stopped about 2 yards short. Darrell Hall and Alondra Johnson combined to bring him down.
You know, in football, sometimes it looks so bad, but hey, those guys still have great speed out there. You're talking about the Rocket, you're talking about Eddie Brown, you're talking about David Williams. Those are all potential 1,000-yard receivers. All they have to do is put some drives together.
The last time these teams met, the Argos were able to put together a couple of pretty good drives. Nastasiuk, the Wilfrid Laurier product, gets the first down. That's the 6th first down that the Argos have had this afternoon. But in the 28-26 loss on July 30th at McMahon Stadium, Joe, the Argos had one touchdown drive of 11 plays, another drive of 10 plays.
And the Argos very well could have won that football game. Had it not been for the fumble late in the ball game, Toronto had a great comeback.
Ottawa has increased its lead over Hamilton in the third quarter as the result of a Terry Baker field goal to 25-17. First and 10, Toronto, penalty flag. Pass along the sidelines for Williams. But usually when a penalty flag goes in the backfield, it's a holding call, and this one is going to be brought back.
Yeah, well executed play. Good delivery and good catch.
Great catch, David!
But
holding Toronto 56. First down repeal.
Center Ian Beckstead was guilty of the holding call. Beckstead didn't start the season with the Argos. He had a job commitment that prevented him from playing football, but he was able to arrange things so that he could return.
They called the vice president for holding.
His first game in an ARG uniform was that July 20th encounter, or 30th encounter at McMahon Stadium. Foggy throws deep for the Rocket. He has to wait for it, and Carl Anthony was able to successfully defend against him.
Oh, the fans don't like that. They thought the ball had a little bit too much air under it and took too much time to get there, and you know they're right. The Rocket's supposed to outrun people, not outjump them.
You know, it seems that Ricky Foggy has been at his most effective when he's able to roll out of there. He has not been doing that today.
He's got to play like Doug Flutie plays. He's got to take, instead of 3 steps and 5 steps, he's got to scramble. He's got to get outside to contain. That's when he's effective.
So far, Foggy has only passed for 63 yards today, and he won't pass for any more on this play, as he is brought down by Shreko Zizakovic.
Well, by Dan Ferroni's reaction, it might be a call on him.
Holding, Toronto 69. Penalty is declined. It's 3rd down.
And Ferroni was the guilty individual, but with the success of Zizakovic in getting to quarterback Ricky Foggy, the Argos will, or the Stampeders will instead take that quarterback sack, forcing the Argos back to their own 30-yard line.
Well, the Argos had a drive going, but they went backwards after the 2 holding calls.
Pee Wee Smith waits for it at the 32-yard line. And Blaine Schmidt is the first man to get there, bringing him down at the 40-yard line after a 48-yard punt. 4:43 remains in the 3rd quarter.
Ball game on the full CBC network, Don.
And we look forward to the description of that race from Woodbine. But right now, we're following the exploits of Doug Flutie and the other members of the Calgary Stampeders, who are controlling the Toronto Argonauts 24-0. Flutie's attempted pass falls incomplete. He has already thrown for 232 yards, completing just under half of his pass attempts.
And that 1 interception was what Doug Flutie calls a Hail Mary pass. He said, hey, when I throw them down the field, you got to take those kind of chances. You can't worry about statistics. And he ought to know about Hail Mary passes.
He is averaging 374 passing yards per game. You're talking about the Hail Mary pass when he was at Boston University. Ken Benson was there before Mitchell got the football.
Well, they guessed right. I would never have guessed that that would have been a draw play, but Ken Benson did. Dennis Meyer was saying they have different kinds of blitzes. They have blitzes that pick up the running game, and they have blitzes for the passing game. Hey, that one looked like it was a good one for the running game.
Punter Tony Martino has been much busier this afternoon than he was in Calgary on Labor Day against the Eskimos. Brazeley comes up the middle. Brazeley came free, but he couldn't get to the punch. The Rocket takes the ball. Penalty flags fly at the point where the Rocket caught the football and also where he's tackled at the 45-yard line. Now, a no yards call will be assessed against Calgary and a holding call against Toronto.
Watch Brazeley come in. Top of the bottom of the screen there, and he's got a chance to block the kick. That's a good job of getting the punt away by Martino. That's shades of the old Wally Bawano punting the football. Nobody ever blocked Wally Bawano's punts. Nobody ever blocked his punts.
He never had one blocked?
Ask me why.
Why?
Wally's had that unique ability to be short, and he kicked those footballs. They could never reach his leg.
No yards. Calgary number 33. Penalty is declined. Holding, Toronto number 15 on the run back. 1st down.
The Rocket did a pretty good job of returning the kick. Still not sure I understand why Wally never had a kick.
From a long-legged kicker like Olisic, you got a better chance to block it because the block point's closer. Wally was not only smart, but he was short, so that helped him.
Did he have a pretty good line blocking for him as well?
That helped too.
The Rocket makes the catch, and Carl Anthony catches the Rocket. It will be close to a 1st down.
Well, the crowd woke up. They liked that play. They liked the Rocket coming out here and looking like a good, solid football player, making his break. One of the problems they've had, with the Argos have had, is the quarterback and receivers connecting. They've had some problems where the receivers weren't where the quarterback expected them to be. Sometimes quarterback wasn't where the receivers expected him to be.
Coming into the game, the Rocket had 1,301 all-purpose yards. He's very close to 200 all-purpose yards this afternoon.
Look at that helmet. He's taken a few shots. That helmet's nicked up, got a lot of red paint on it.
Foggy throws deep for Williams. He's got it.
Well, give the quarterback time. Just when you think David Williams is covered, he has that long stride and he'll stretch out and get open. He runs a good pass route. Looks like he's covered early, but Ricky Foggy had protection, and David Williams made a nice lunging catch.
A 39-yard gain for the 1988 outstanding player in the CFL. He hasn't been in the Toronto lineup for the last couple of games, but the Argos are in their best position of the day. First and goal from inside the 10. Foggy on the option, gives it to the pinball, but he ran out of room. He ran it to the short side of the field.
That option play is not something you can run against Calgary. They're ready for it. When they see the I-back situation, they play it laterally along the line of scrimmage. That was played perfectly by Tim Cofield and Alondra Johnson right out there to make the hit.
Second and goal. The ball is at the 8-yard line. 2:03 remains in the third quarter.
This is really important for the Argos to get this one in and make it a ball game.
Brown and the Rocket line up wide right. Williams and Massotti to the left. Foggy drills it in, intended for the Rocket. He was trying to put it between two defenders. Knox, the safety, came over to help out Carl Anthony, and they were able to knock it away.
Well, the Rocket thought he deserved an interference call.
And you hear the fans reacting. One of the reasons is they replay that play on the Jumbotron. The fans see it and they think there was interference, and the Rocket reacted as though he thought there was interference as well.
You got to keep your hands off of people. Carl Anthony had his hands on him. That could have been a call.
The third down gamble. Twice they have failed on third down gambles, and this one is thrown up for grabs. Knocked away. There were 4 Calgary Stampeder defenders at the goal line in front of the Rocket, between the Rocket and Ricky Foggy, and Foggy was indeed fortunate as he threw that in desperation that it wasn't intercepted.
Well, Foggy had to throw it in desperation because both defensive ends, Will Johnson and Tim Cofield, were right on top of him, and the Rocket, he's just got to try to out-jump some people. He's outmanned. But look at Ricky Foggy. Look what he's up against. That's called a tough pass rush by the defensive ends. He's got no place to go.
Johnson and Cofield forced Ricky Foggy, and now the Stampeders take over 1st and 10, and Andy McVeigh isn't going anywhere as he is caught by linebacker Don Moan. The Rocket has taken some solid hits during the course of the ball game today.
Well, his sophomore year could be earmarked a lot of hard hits, a lot of competitive downfield tackling. People know what he can do now. It's always tougher the second year.
He started the year in such spectacular fashion with over 400 all-purpose yards in a season-opening loss to Ottawa.
Of course, those all-purpose yards can be misleading because of how many yards you get on kick returns.
There was movement at the line of scrimmage. Rodney Harding came across the line. Now we'll wait for the signal to see whether it is offside or a legal procedure.
Well, they're pointing both sides. See, you don't want to have too many kickoff returns, Don.
No. And in that game, there were a lot of kickoff returns for the Rocket.
Offside, Toronto, procedure, Calgary, second down.
And the judge rules both sides were offending.
21 seconds remain in the third quarter. But the way the Rocket started the year with his season debut at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, it looked as though he might shatter Pinball Clemens' record for all-purpose yards. But injuries kept the Rocket out of the Toronto lineup for 3 games. And when you look at his statistics for the year and think that a quarter of his all-purpose total came in 1 game, he hasn't had great success in the games he has played.
Not at all. I'll tell you, Holman's had success. Is he chewing bubble gum?
There are some players who chew tobacco during the course of the game. I would recommend bubble gum. Penalty flag. Dave Sapunjas.
Dave Van Bellingham was all over him. I mean, he just grabbed him and gave him a little hug on the way down the field. And that could have been a touchdown.
And there are penalty flags back at the line of scrimmage as well. But Sapunjas went down, and the reason he went down was this man, Dave Van Bellingham, who made sure that Sapunjas didn't get in behind him.
He wanted to dance with him. Well, that's the key to their defense. Dave Van Bellingham has been hanging in the middle. He's taken away a lot of the passes intended for Alan Pitts. That time, they were going to go to Sapunjas. Van Bellingham knew it was a touchdown if he let him get by him.
Van Bellingham played college football at the University of Calgary.
We have a lot of Calgary, University of Calgary
unnecessary
people.
roughness, Toronto number 70. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Toronto number 36. Forward pass interference, Toronto number 17. First down, Calgary.
That should put them at the goal line, shouldn't it?
Tape 3, they're cheap. 3 penalties. That's a first. I haven't seen one this year. I haven't seen 3 penalties by one team on one play. Was that 3 different officials?
Well, there were flags all over the artificial turf at Skydome. In the end result, 2 unnecessary roughness penalties. The interference call moved the ball to the 53, first and 10, Calgary. Look at the difference, 100 yards in penalties assessed against
the Argos are saying,
Argonauts.
Come on, let's hear the boos, and the officials saying, wait a minute.
Difference of 100 yards in the penalty assessment.
45 in that last play.
Flutie is in trouble. He decides to toss it off to Eric Mitchell. And Carl Brazeley comes up to bring down Mitchell. And that should be the final play of the third quarter. It is, with the Calgary Stampeders leading by 24 points. "15 minutes remain here at Skydome. The Stampeders leading 24-0. The Stampeders return home for a Sunday game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're actually involved in a home-and-home affair with Winnipeg, while the Toronto Argonauts fly out to Vancouver. They'll play there on Saturday night, and we'll have that game for you on CBC television. Harding gets through to Doug Flutie and drops him back at the 45-yard line.
Well, Harding got there before Doug Flutie. That was a tremendous pass rush by Rodney Harding, their all-time sack leader. And he's just adding to his statistics.
The Stampeders have done a pretty good job this year of protecting their quarterback. Rodney Harding registers the first Argo sack of the afternoon. The Rocket lets the ball bounce, and it will roll out of bounds before he gets a chance to field it. And there's pushing and shoving at the Argo bench, and now quite a battle is going on. Andy McVay is in the middle of it. The Rocket trying to get involved as well. He came hurtling right over a couple of people, and this is most unnecessary.
All that is frustration. You see a lot of people frustrated. They got to play on the football field, not on the sidelines on a bench clearing brawl. That was totally uncalled for. Andy McVeigh was already down. He and Ben Bellingham were having their own fight.
I'm not sure why that would have started, because there was no run back attempt. The ball had bounced out of bounds, but it happened directly in front of the Argo bench.
Well, it had to be upfield, somebody trying to block. You see Adam Rita very concerned and upset with that. Somebody trying to block upfield. I think Paul Clatney.
Now, I would think that we are going to see players ejected from the ball game. Perhaps we can pick up how this all developed.
Yeah, Ben Bellingham just hit Clatney, I believe, and then he hit somebody unintentionally. Darrell K. Smith is down.
Adam Rita stepped in there and had words with Clatney, and then the Rocket came in late.
Rough play, disqualification. Toronto number 25. Rough play, disqualification. Calgary number 34. Rough play, disqualification. Toronto number 6.
So David Williams and the Rocket are ejected from the ball game, and so is McVeigh. Now you see the Rocket come in and go down just at the top of the screen. It looked as though he was almost trying to jump on top of Andy McVeigh.
Well, Ben Bellingham hit Clatney into several Argos. Then the retaliation began. Andy McVeigh ended up on the ground. Darrell K. Smith ended up on the ground, and he's in street clothes.
So the Rocket is gone. David Williams is gone. Two of the Argos' offensive threats are out for the rest of the game, and so is McVeigh.
Objectionable conduct, Toronto number 25.
In addition, there's an objectionable conduct call assessed against the Rocket. The Argos are losing their cool. Now watch the Rocket come in. Whoa, is he trying to kick one of the down players? I hope not.
Well, the officials, it looks like, have it sorted out, and the Argos are all the way back on the 5-yard line.
So 3 players have been ejected. The pinball carries and will pick up just a couple of yards. Alondra Johnson made the tackle.
Now you can see Michael Clements, he's so pumped up and trying to make something happen. He didn't get very far. Stu Laird right there on top of the play. Someone asked Ricky Foggy why he didn't get mad. He said, hey, that's not my style.
No catch. Eddie Brown on the sidelines tried to haul it in front of Junior Thurman. So the Argos will be forced to kick it away with 13-19 remaining in the game. 24-0, the Calgary Stampeders lead.
And Don, think about this. 45 yards in penalties on one play, and then this play, another penalty, 3 players ejected. And look at the field position. It's turned around just because of misconduct. They're going to be in scoring position if they get a good return.
Well, the Argos, the defending Grey Cup champions, a very frustrated football team. And with each loss, those frustrations mount. Pee Wee Smith is forced out of bounds. And the man who made the tackle is Jeff Braswell. And more pushing and shoving continues on the sidelines. With penalty flags, we'll have it for you when we return. 24-0. The Calgary Stampeders lead the Toronto Argonauts. Stampeders will scrimmage back at their own 48-yard line.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Calgary number 19. First down, Calgary.
Carl Anthony was guilty of the major foul, and just as we went to commercial, Some of our viewers may have heard Wally Buono shouting, "Don't be as stupid as they are." Movement at the line of scrimmage prior to the ball being snapped.
That'll be on number 20. I think Flutie pulled out expecting the ball, and it wasn't snapped. So either McDonald or Flutie are wrong.
It's a procedure call against the Calgary Stampeders.
Illegal procedure. Calgary offside Toronto.
And it was offside Toronto, so it's a repeat of first down. Scott?
Well, Don, for as best as I've been able to gather, what happened here on the sidelines a moment ago with that ruckus was Darrell K. Smith was standing here in street clothes. One of the Calgary Stampeders bumped into him and got knocked down, and when the Stampeder came up, and I still can't find out who it was, all the Argonauts were on top of him, and it went from there. I did notice one thing. Mike Campbell, the defensive lineman of the Argonauts, ran over to that table to get his helmet. So excited he was to get it, he tipped over the whole table of Gatorade and ice and whatnot, and he got the Gatorade all over my pants, which I just had dry cleaned this week. So, Don, serious consequences aside from ejections down here, as you can tell.
Penalty flag as Andy McVeigh goes down. And there's a holding call against Calgary.
The blitz was coming, and Calgary saw the linebacker coming up. They couldn't do anything else but hold, and that's going to be declined, I believe. No gain. Wally Buono's upset about that because they're back first and 15. It'll be second and 15.
Holding Calgary number 54, first down repeated.
Center Bob McDonald was guilty of the holding. It takes the ball back to the 34-yard line. It's first and 25, Calgary. Now Blair Keel does have his helmet on. We saw him warming up just prior to the start of the third quarter. Perhaps now Ricky Foggy is going to be replaced by Coach Adam Rita. But first, the Argos have to get the football back, and as long as Alan Pitts continues to catch and Doug Flutie continues to throw, they may have difficulty doing that. That takes the ball to the 45-yard line. It will still be second and 13.
I'm surprised they took the penalty. I wouldn't want to go too many times against those people, but Ricky Foggy would like to go back out there and get something done.
He may not get the chance. Flutie for Pitts, wide open, and he's forced out of bounds by Don Wilson. But facing first and 25, the Stampeders, with two passes from Flutie to Alan Pitts, take the ball back into Toronto territory.
Now Doug Flutie knows he's got that exceptional athlete out there. Look at the fluid moves of Alan Pitts.
3 times this year, Alan Pitts has had 100-yard receiving games.
Particularly tough on zone. He just gets into those seams. He knows how to run the routes. They have a terrible time trying to cover him. There's a lot of double coverage on Pitts. Nothing seems to work.
Pitts is only 3 yards shy of another 100-yard receiving game. This time Crawford grabs the Flutie pass for a gain of about 6 or 7, stopped by Reggie Pleasant and Carl Brazeley.
Look at the intensity on Flutie. You would never know that his team has the lead. I mean, he's trying to drive down the field like this touchdown means the whole ball game. Very intense, competitive football player.
Flutie established a Calgary club record with 63 passes versus Saskatchewan on August the 7th. Intended for Sapunjas, Carl Brazeley was defending against him. And on third and a couple, Wally Buono sends out his field goal unit.
Nice job by Mike Campbell. He's been in a few ruckuses today. Mike Campbell came in and put pressure on Flutie. I think that caused the bad pass. This guy is a real competitor. He's a lot like Harold Hallman. He's a bull rusher. He's not one of those guys that'll give you a lot of moves. He'll just run right over top of you.
What's his nickname? Crush?
The Crush. He looks like Darth Vader with that visor.
McLaughlin's 34-yard field goal hits the crossbar. So the score holds at 24-0. Calgary leading Toronto with 10:13 remaining in the game. Ottawa leads Hamilton 31-24 in the fourth quarter, but word from the nation's capital is that the Ticats' outstanding receiver, Earl Winfield, was helped off the field with a leg injury. That could be a big blow for John Gregory's team. Blair Keel has taken over at quarterback for the Argos. Keel, with experience in the NFL with 3 teams, is intercepted by Kenton Leonard. This will be 6th the other way. His first CFL pass is intercepted, but there is a penalty flag at the line of scrimmage. However, it's a holding call against Toronto, and the penalty is waved off, and it's now 30-0. As Keel, who has played in the NFL with Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Indianapolis, is intercepted on his first passing attempt by Kenton Leonard, who returns it 34 yards for a touchdown.
Well, I talked about that earlier, Don. The NFL quarterbacks coming into this league, they don't realize the width of the field. That outcut can be way out there, and that's what happened. He hung the outcut to the outside, and you don't do that very many times on Carl Anthony.
The point after by Mark McLaughlin, converting the touchdown by Kenton Leonard, and it is 31-0. The Stampeders leading the Argos. Isn't that the first thing that coaches look at when they bring a new quarterback into the Canadian Football League, is how well he throws that outcut?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything wrong with how well he threw it, but you have to realize that it is so far out there. Many times the success of the outcut is when you sprint to that direction, because, hey, that's a long way to go, and that's a good recovery time, so don't look there first. Wide side to the right side, very difficult. If he looked to the outcut, that defensive back will jump on it right away.
The penalty call, a holding violation against the Argos, obviously declined. Kenton Leonard, a diabetic, who, despite his problems, has turned in a superb performance this year for the Stampeders.
He, along with Matt Dunnigan, are very active in the Diabetes Society's fundraising events.
Well, the Argos are at their season average, 5 turnovers per game. Don Wilson with the rocket, ejected. Returns the kick to the 43-yard line, stopped there by Ken Watson.
Well, now Blair Keel gets to come back out and take a serious look at the short side of the field. If he wants to throw the outcut now, he's on the hash mark. It might be a bit easier.
Probably can always say that his first pass attempt in the CFL went for a touchdown.
Or it's memorable.
1st and 10, the ball is at the 44. He'll try that outcut again. He was looking for Paul Mussatti. It's incomplete.
Well, he delivered it. He really delivered that one. He put some velocity on it. Now you see he's looking at his wrist. He's got a strap on his wrist with all of the plays. It's not the plays so much as it is the formations that they look for. They want to look and make sure they have the right formation for the play call. So he's got a little help on his left wrist.
14 of Calgary's 31 points today have been the result of turnovers. Not nearly as tough for the Argos today in that regard as it was in Labor Day against Hamilton, when the Ticats scored 24 of their 27 points as the result of turnovers. Keel's pass misses the target. The Argos are forced to send out the punting unit. It's going to be a tough week for the Argos, trying to regroup and get ready for Saturday's game in Vancouver against the BC Lions, who have won their last 2 starts.
And you know, the impressive thing about the BC Lions, not just that they've won the last 2 games, in the last ball game against Edmonton, they came up with a defense. Pee Wee
Smith chases it back to his own 5-yard line. and returns the kick to the 23. Stopped there by Ken Benson. That was a 56-yard kick, a 13-yard return. Scott?
Well, Don Blair Keel is the fourth quarterback this season to try and get it done for the Argonauts and hasn't fared well early in his CFL debut. And this is what Mike Kerrigan has to show for trying to get it done against the Hamilton Tiger Cats on Labor Day. A big brace on his left leg. It's to immobilize some torn knee ligaments. He's going to be lost to the Argos for 4 to 6 weeks. I'm sure they would love to have him in uniform today, or anybody that could help him.
Well, quarterbacking has been a problem during the course of the 1992 season for the Argos. Mitchell, the ball carrier for Calgary, he is stopped at the 28-yard line. The Ottawa Rough Riders have increased their advantage to 10 points. A Terry Baker field goal makes it 34-24 Ottawa. The Rough Riders trying to move within 2 points of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who lead the Eastern Division with a record of 6-3. Ottawa 4-5. The Rough Riders back at Lansdowne Park after becoming the first team to fall victim to the BC Lions. Flutie tried to sidearm that throw into the arms of Crawford. It's incomplete. It will be third down Calgary. 29,044 watching the action today here at Skydome. The Argos' last victory was here at Skydome when they defeated the Ottawa Rough Riders. .7:42 remaining. 31-0, the Stampeders lead. Martino is going to run the ball, and he's going to get the first down quite easily. And he does a pretty good job of hurdling the signboards on the far side of the field, but things opened up on the left side. Now, Joe, is that a case of the punter being allowed to make that call on his own?
Yeah, I'm sure Wally Buono allowed him to do that when the defense is dropping off.
Tony Martino, gambling on third down, ran for a first down. Joe, what would be the instructions from Buono? If he saw no blocking there, that he could take off on his own, he has that freedom?
When they have nobody on contain, then he has the option to take off running. And you know, Martino's been through a lot. He was trying to beat out Lou Pasaglia for 3 years. He's been cut about 3 times from the BC Lions. He's finally made it with Calgary, and he's made it big.
He's done a fine job as a punter, and he also has done a fine job gambling on third down. A quarterbacking change with Steve Taylor in the game, replacing Doug Flutie. He started the year wearing number 1, but switched to number 9. That's his old Nebraska number. And his first pass attempt goes incomplete.
Steve Taylor's one of those athletes that has good running ability, and he's got a good strong arm. The mobility of a Steve Taylor will help him when he learns the passing game. He needs more playing time. This is a good decision by Buono to get him in there with a big lead.
2nd and 10. The ball is at the 43. Pass is complete to Sapunjas, but he won't get the first down. He's stopped at the 50-yard line by Antoine Worthman. 6:27 is the time remaining. 31-0 the Stampeders lead. The last time that the Toronto Argonauts were shut out was 25 years ago. No, pardon me, 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
1977. They lost 30-0 to the BC Lions. I'm quite sure this time Martino will be kicking the ball. Good high kick that the pinball waits for. Spins away from one tackle and then is finally downed at the 30-yard line. Scott?
Don A. Indy is the favorite in the Molson Export Million at Woodbine this afternoon. He's brought a lot of American interest to the race by shipping in for it. The colt purchased for well over $2 million, already earned $1.3 million, and trainer Neil Drysdale has him all set to go after $600,000 this afternoon. That's the winner's share of the $1 million purse in the Molson Export Million at Woodbine, and the race is coming up after this football game.
And of course, there will be a lot of support for Queen's Plate winner Ali D. So stay tuned. Immediately following the Argo Stampeder football game for the race from Woodbine. Keel delivers to Clemens, and he goes out of bounds with a Toronto first down.
Well, if you're ever in trouble and you want to know who to go to, this guy is a good start. There's no quit in this guy. And Michael Clemens, he is always going at about 100 miles an hour. You could just see the effort in him. He really delivered. I'm not so sure anybody will want to come up and tackle him.
1st and 10 Toronto. The Argos are at their own 41-yard line. Keel, of course, hasn't had the benefit of a training camp and is not totally familiar with the Argo offense. He throws along the sidelines, and Paul Massotti makes his first catch of the day. That will be close to another first down.
Well, that's not a very good feeling when you look up at the scoreboard and see you're being shut out. But Blair Keel has showed little mobility on the last play.
Don Moen, 183 consecutive games. I suppose during that time he's seen a lot in the Canadian Football League in his career as an Argo.
Would he have been there 15 years ago?
Let's see. No, I don't think so.
Not quite. Almost. Well, you know, at UBC he didn't see very many defeats, and not too many at the Argos. They had a couple tough years, but not like this year.
Expectations for the Argos were so high coming into this season, coming off their Grey Cup victory over the Calgary Stampeders at Winnipeg Stadium last November.
And as Adam Rita said, it's not one person. You know, if you could put the blame on one guy that's not performing, he said they take turns making the mistakes.
3 receivers line up wide left, 3 to the right. Here's the Argo six-pack. And on 2nd and inches, Blair Keel keeps.
You know, Blair Keel looked like he knew about the Canadian Football League sneak rule. I mean, he did a pretty good job. Got good surge by the line. He refers to his notes.
Just under 30,000 watching the action on a sunny afternoon in Toronto. Well, in that young fans' hearts, the Argos are still #1, even though they are in last place in the Eastern Division of the Canadian Football League. 1st and 10. Keel throws to the sidelines, and Eddie Brown makes the catch and then is brought down by Junior Thurman. His forward progress was about a yard shy of a first down.
Well, Eddie Brown's been hit hard in this ball game. That time he learned to come back for the football. Don't let those defensive guys have a shot at you. He came back to the ball. Consequently, he wasn't hit as hard as some of those others when he was trying to go away from the ball.
2nd and 1. 3 receivers wide right. The toss to the pinball. He'll get the first down. And he's tripped up by Knox at the 32-yard line.
Well, that's good blocking. When the safety comes up to make a tackle, when Greg Knox has to make the tackle, then you know they're getting good, crisp blocking up front. And Michael has that ability to squirt through there when he does get the seam. This is just about the best thing they've done all day. Michael Clemens is a big part of it.
Well, he's been getting the ball in the last few series as well. They hadn't been able to get the ball to him earlier in the game. Eddie Brown was the man that Keel was looking for. And that comes an incomplete pass with 3:02 remaining in the game. 31-0, the Stampeders lead. Adam Rita saw 2 of his players ejected from the game earlier in this quarter, and there could be further disciplinary action. Watch the Rocket right here. Ooh. It almost appeared as though he was trying to jump in the head of Andy McVeigh and try and kick him. So he could be hearing from Commissioner Larry Smith.
I think it looked like he was jumping off a rope in a wrestling arena. I've seen that move before.
1st and 10, Toronto. Keel to the pinball. He's caught by Alondra Johnson. There's a penalty flag downfield. It could be a pass interference call against Calgary.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver, Calgary, number 2. It's 1st down, Toronto.
The call goes against Junior Thurman, providing the Argos with a 1st down.
Well, Alondra Johnson has him covered well for the short gain, but the penalty when a receiver is next to you, he's starting to pass you, you can't make contact with him. You have to make contact when you're in front of that receiver, and that's the only time it's allowed.
Well, the Argos have almost doubled their offense in the second half, but they still haven't been able to put any points on the board. Blair Keel will try and correct that. His throw into the end zone well short of JP, or well over JP Escuerdo's head.
Tim Cofield thought he was going to get a sack, but Keel showed some presence of mind, and he released the ball just as Cofield came in.
2nd and 10 with 2:35 remaining in the game. Blair Keel taking over late in the 4th quarter from Ricky Foggy. Two receivers go to either side. Keel throws to the right side. Carl Anthony is there to knock it down. Anthony for a moment thought that he might be able to step in front of Eddie Brown and maybe go all the way. That pass seemed to hang up there for a time. Darryl Hall was blitzing on his very first pass. Blair Keel was intercepted by Kenton Leonard.
And it looks like Dan Ferroni's down.
Defense doing a job again for Hamilton. Gary Wilkerson recovering a fumble in the 4th quarter. And the cornerback has reduced the deficit to just 3 points in a wild scoring affair at Lansdowne Park. Those two teams, Hamilton and Ottawa, have a home-and-home affair. They play back in Hamilton next weekend.
And with the race as tight as it is in the Eastern Division, these are 2 key games. The coaches always talk about 4-point games. 2 points we get, 2 that you don't. So in the next 2 weeks, we could see a lot of things happen with Hamilton-Ottawa standings.
Ottawa is in Hamilton on Saturday night, and on Saturday night we'll be in Vancouver as the Toronto Argonauts travel to the West Coast. Adam Rita's Argos losing 2 games in a row, and former Argo coach Bob Obilovich as his BC Lions riding a 2-game winning streak. That game gets underway at 10:30 Eastern Time from BC Place Stadium Saturday night on CBC television.
Well, Adam's concerned. He's got Jim Kardashian now replacing Dan Ferroni. Dan's one of the leaders, and that has to concern him because that pass protection, particularly with a guy like Blair Keel, is important.
Adam was also concerned yesterday with the storm that hit the island of Kauai. He has relatives on Kauai that he was attempting to contact yesterday, but with communication to the island down, he was unable to get through. Third and 10. The Argos at the 22-yard line. Blair Keel for Escuerdo, knocked away. A good recovery by Junior Thurman. And you know, we talk about the Argos not putting any points on the board, and they have not been shut out since 1977. With only a couple of minutes left in the game, this is where the Calgary defensive unit takes some special pride and is concentrating on getting that shutout.
Well, that's a self-perpetuating thing. Once you start to have some success like the Calgary defense has had today, then you get those kinds of plays that Junior Thurman brought out. You just get more and more confidence when you start to have that kind of success. Conversely, the same thing happens to your offense. If you're not moving, you start to sputter, you start to question yourself. Things don't happen.
Steve Taylor tosses to Eric Mitchell. Another penalty flag on the play. Mitchell will be very close to a first down. 2:18 is the time remaining in the game. The Stampeders will move into a first-place tie with the Edmonton Eskimos in the Western Conference.
I guess you could go in and tell your boss, I just wasn't up for it today, boss. What do you think he'd say?
Don't think he'll buy it.
Clipping, Calgary's 79, first down repeated.
Wally Buono freely substituting. Frank Maroff was called for clipping. Dan Ferroni has had a tough afternoon along the Toronto offensive line. He spent a year with the Calgary Stampeders before returning to the Argos.
He made some money.
Mitchell taking the inside handoff, but finding no running room, and again more pushing and shoving. Rodney Harding is involved. Ken Moore is there as well.
Well, Ken Moore doesn't have to worry about getting beat up too much because his wife's a dentist. You know, if he has any problems with the teeth, right there at home, he can get that taken care of.
As I mentioned earlier, Moore, number 64, is the only holdover from last year's Calgary's offensive line.
Great job done with the offensive line. George Cortez came over from Ottawa.
Wilson is after Taylor, and he catches him. Wilson had to come a long way to catch up to Steve Taylor. He was coming from the other side on a blitz, and he tracked him down.
But, you know, Don Wilson came like you said, he had to go a long way. He came all the way around. He had to make a complete circle on the halfback blitz. It's going in the same direction as the quarterback, only he's going faster. What do they say? If you're being on the right track isn't always good if there's a train coming faster.
Taylor obviously didn't see him, nor did he hear him, and Wilson was able to drop him for a loss back at the 10-yard line, so Martino will punt from the end zone. The ball bounces, and Clemens picks it up and draws a no-yards flag. He tried to get outside Alondra Johnson, but Johnson did a good job of containing him. A 42-yard punt, a 9-yard run back, but the Argos will improve their field position almost certainly by a no-yards call.
How many times have you seen somebody do that with Michael Clemens? Alondra Johnson made an exceptional athletic move. He didn't lose control of his body, came back and actually made the tackle, made the stop. That's an exceptional athlete.
Calgary, first down Toronto.
And so many times, Joe, adding to what you were saying, the pinball will get one-on-one with a defender, and with a couple of moves, the defender will go for it, and the pinball is gone. But Johnson stayed with him. He didn't go for any of the fakes that the pinball was attempting to put on him, forced him back into the inside, and assisted on the tackle.
He's probably the smallest middle linebacker in the league and the most effective. He leads the CFL in tackles.
With 1:11 remaining in the game, the Argos get another chance to try and put points on the board. Incomplete. Intended for Paul Massotti, and he was being covered by Carl Anthony. Larry Rickman, the owner of the Stampeders, certainly enjoying what he has seen this afternoon from his team. A 31-0 lead, and with the win, moving into a tie with Edmonton for first place.
And he loves Pee Wee Smith. He loves Roy Shivers, too, because Roy Shivers brought all these imports in. He's done a good job of recruiting, but...
Done a fine job of putting together a football team in Calgary. This pass is intercepted by Kendon Leonard. The second time Leonard has intercepted Blair Keel. There's a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage. The pass was intended for Mike Clemens.
Well, they're acting as though it's a penalty against Calgary. Or is it?
Major foul, Toronto number 61. First down, Calgary.
Chris Green was guilty of yet another Argo penalty. The penalty total for the Argos this afternoon is high.
I mean, Chris Green's an offensive lineman. What could he possibly do wrong?
166 yards have been marched off against Toronto today.
Usually they'll call an offensive lineman for holding, but...
With all those penalties, does that suggest a lack of discipline?
Or frustration, or both.
Taylor's pass to Pee Wee Smith. He takes it out of bounds. Scott?
Well, Don, at Lansdowne Park, the Ticats have been chasing the Rough Riders all afternoon, but the Rough Riders may just have sealed victory with this touchdown by James Ellingson on the pass from Tom Burgess. Ellingson open in the end zone. It made it 41-31 Rough Riders, and we understand the Riders have just recovered a fumble. They've got possession with about a minute to go. They'll probably improve their record to 500.
And now Bob Torrance is in at quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders as Wally Buono is giving all three of his signal callers an opportunity to play. And Torrance gets the first down.
And I'll tell you this about Bob Torrance. I've seen him in practice, and there's nobody that throws a better ball than he does. He's a Calgary, University of Calgary product, another one. And he is a solid quarterback.
Stampeders have a large number of ex-dinosaurs on their roster. And Bob Torrance, former University of Calgary player, loses the football as he attempted to hand it off, but he gets it back. Even though he was down, the football rolled towards him, and Torrance was able to pounce on it.
That was a dinosaur bounce?
Well, there were two ex-dinosaurs after it. Torrance, the quarterback, and Dave Van Bellingham, the safety. Second and 13 with 12 seconds remaining in the game. First time that the Argos have been shut out since 1977. Here's the toss to Eric Mitchell. And that will do it. I don't see any penalty flags. There's the gun, and the Toronto Argonauts are shut out for the first time in 15 years, and they remain in last place in the Eastern Division. Doug Flutie, who scored a touchdown himself, as his team in a tie for first place atop the Western Division with the Edmonton Eskimos. And those teams meet again on October 24th in Edmonton, and that game could ultimately decide first place in the West. 31-0 the final score, Calgary winning.
Well, two teams at the opposite end of the spectrum at Skydome today. One misfiring from the start, the other firing on all cylinders with Doug Flutie at the controls as Calgary beats Toronto 31-0. But hold it, folks. Doug Flutie's here to say he doesn't think he played as well as he did last week when he was picked off 6 times against the Eskimos. How about it?
Well, my arm felt a lot stronger last week. I felt like I was throwing the ball with a lot of zip. This week, my arm felt a little bit tired. But we did some things and controlled the ball. We won the field position battle more than anything, and the key to today was not turning the ball over.
All right, we've got a touchdown here that you can help analyze for us. I think it made it 24-0 for the Stampeders in the third quarter. Let's have a look at it.
They went zero coverage. They went straight man-to-man, came after us with the blitz, and I was fortunate enough to find a crease and step up, and I ended up taking off with it. right here, I was going to go out of bounds. I said, oh, the heck with it, try to score, and weaseled my way through. Some great blocks from Alan Pitts and Carl Bland to get me into the end zone.
Want to say a word about your defense that shut out the Argonauts?
It was nice. I'll tell you, they did an excellent job. We didn't move the ball as well as we would have liked to have, but we were moving it enough to get field position. Punting it, they would hold them and get us back on the short field, and then we'd score. We didn't really have many long drives in the game, and defense was key to field position.
Doug, thanks for your time. Congratulations. And so the Stampeders, folks, went after a share of first place in the West today, and they got it with a 31-0 victory over the Argonauts. The Argonauts now have to think about just making the playoffs. None of this fits the script, does it? 31-0 the final. Argos travel to BC next, and we'll have the telecast next Saturday night. And stand by now for the Molson Export Million coming up from Woodbine, AP, Indy, and Alleydeed, all set to run. Thanks for watching. We bid you goodbye from Skydome.